wish I'd listened to you sooner. Is there any specific mistakes that people can do with personal branding?
Absolutely. For many years, you're like, I'm not want to talk, I don't want to be public, I'm not going to do a fucking podcast, I'm not going to do this. And here you are.
If you now had to close down all of your platforms and you can only keep 2 channels, you want to build a personal brand and you want to build your name in the digital marketing space, what 2 channels are you keeping?
Probably in YouTube. Back again, mate. Same clothes on.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
So today I'm joined with Craig Campbell and today's video is about personal branding. So with the growth of the AI, how important do you feel now personal branding is in today's world?
Massive. I think what I personally see, so take AI away for a second, I think what I do see is 90% of people do not want to build a personal brand because they're camera shy, they don't want to be out there, or they're introverts. There's 100 different reasons. However, AI coming out is going to take that away. You're going to have the ability to put yourself out there more, whether it be you or whether it's a fake head or whatever it may be. But I think that is going to become saturated. But I think more and more people are then going to relate better to this, real people having real conversations who don't talk like robots and can have some bants and stuff like that. So I think, when it comes to personal branding and talking and just being yourself, that's what people want. People buy into people. And certainly something, again, I've learned over the years is my personal brand's not liked by everyone. I'm under no illusions that, everyone likes me or whatever. But I don't need everyone to like me. All I need is, a percentage of people to like me and like what I say or find value in what I say. And then you're going to build up, the personal brand and people are going to like your style. And I'm, again, under no illusions that Coca-Cola or some corporate organisation is not going to come to the guy who cusses and swears and heavily tattooed and stuff like that. So, I think personal branding is good though, because a lot of people do like or have said to me, I like your style, you're direct and you don't beat around the bush and, you call a spade and things like that. So I think building a personal brand will attract you to certain people. And again, you're obviously doing it now as well. And I'm pretty sure along the way someone's went, I don't like him. But more people will buy into you because I've never actually heard anyone say I don't like him, but it's going to be there. Someone's going to go, that guy's a dick. But I think a lot of people will look to you and go, he's got a lot of knowledge. He probably tells too much. I've actually had someone saying, like, why does he talk too much? He probably says way more than he potentially should about your own businesses and strategies and things like that. But people like that. They'll go, he's actually a relatable guy. He's not some fucking dickhead who's got too much money that's a bit up himself. You'll be like, I fucked this up, I fucked that up, I've been here, I've been poor, and things like that. So I think, that building your personal brand will, everyone's different out there, business owners and stuff like that, and certain people will like a certain type of person. And I think for me, it really gets rid of the people that you don't want to work with as well. So a lot of people say, Craig, why do you swear so much? See if me swearing, for example, puts people off. It filters out the people that I would potentially want to work with anyway. So the type of personal brand that I've done has been semi-deliberate. I've obviously been finding my feet along the way as well, but people have said, like, cover up, wear this and that on stage. And I'm like, nah, I'm going on stage with the t-shirt and the shorts and I'm going to fucking cuss and that's all there is to it. And I remember a person saying, I want you to put a jumper on to speak. And I says, nah, I'm not speaking. If you're trying to tell me what to wear, like, tattoos are tattoos, like, they're not offensive, it's just design. So I think, and that is now kind of seen as part of my personal brand as well. So I think obviously building it up is massive in terms of where I've come from. And I'll ask you about yours as well, because you've been kind of similar to me, where I built an agency, you've had Fat Rank, And the reason for me doing it was no one knew who I was. So I remember my sales guy was the guy. So I wanted to be the SEO in the background, right? And didn't care for anyone knowing who I was. And my sales guy wanted to leave. He was the account manager, the sales guy. He was everything. And I remember phoning around the clients and they were like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, I'm the owner. And they're like, nah, that other guy's the owner. And I'm like, fuck, I'm in a real shitty position here. No one knows who I am, what I do or anything. This guy's getting all the credit for it. And that's where I thought, you can't. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous position to be in. So I want to switch that, which is where the Craig Campbell SEO guy came out of. But you've had Fat Rank, and obviously, I'm going to throw this back to you. For many years, you're like, nah, I'm not want to talk. I don't want to be public. I'm not going to do a fucking podcast. I'm not going to do this. And here you are, rattling out podcasts. You were in SEO Vibes. What changed? What was your reasoning for it?
So me and you had a lot of chats for many years, and I always had the argument back with you, and I wish I'd listened to you sooner. So there you are. There's a high five for Craig.
First one ever.
1-0 to Craig. But I wish I'd listened to you sooner, because when you used to always talk about personal branding, the main thing for me was I'd sooner build brands than be an influencer or have a personal brand. So I always wanted to be a key person of influence that would put the spotlight on my brands and my businesses and not bother about me being an influencer in my own James Dooley branding. However, I wish I had listened to you sooner, because I could still have done the brands and put the spotlight on the brands and built those up. But I wish I'd done my own personal branding with it, because the benefits that come with personal branding of it becomes a lot easier to employ staff. You get so many people that come and go, I want to work with you, right? Or work for you. Then there's so many people that want for me to invest in their company. So now I'm getting more investment opportunities. If I go and invest in a new business and I've got a personal brand that I can leverage a little bit of trust signals that are online, whether people want to call it EAT or whatever that it is, it adds those trust signals, and me being a known entity with a knowledge panel and stuff like that helps the site. Literally me plugging my entity into a site, I can see direct results. Referral traffic, when I'm obviously now adding it into my bio and I'm linking through to it, people start looking at what is this and stuff like that, can bring sales very quickly. Previously, if I had different brands, I couldn't really go and do that. So for me, personal branding has always been important. I just didn't realise it. And you jumped on the bandwagon a lot sooner than I did. And I used to always be like, I don't want to jump on podcasts. I don't want to go and talk on stage. But at some point, if you don't, and you are successful in building brands out, somebody else is going to deliver the message about you, and it might not be the message that you want to hear. So for that reason, I wanted to own the brand SERP for my name and deliver the messages to people of who am I? Because if I didn't, people trolls would have been able to rank for the name, would have been able to say, this guy don't do SEO, he just parties and invests in racehorses and that's all he does. And there's some truth in that. I do invest in racehorses and I love it, and it brings the family together. So I can deliver that message as being, no, it's memories and experiences of what we have that pulls everyone together, and it's a great time. With regards to partying, yeah, I like going out having a drink with friends. Yeah, I like going thing, but actually the truth of the matter is I might graft for 2 weeks solid. Like when we go to Chiang Mai, there's so many masterminds and events and meetups. No drink involved. It is 14, 15 hours of networking. It's tiring. But then at the end of the week, of course, the closing party, I'm going to let my hair down, get a load of vodka and have a good time and have a good dance. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to party. I'm happy to have a good time. But is that why we're not here? Are we not here to have a good time? Do you know what I mean? We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So, and if that means that I like going out and having a party and a dance and making a fool of myself, well, if I like that, that's what I'm going to do. So it's delivering the message online and literally making certain that people understand who am I with the messaging that I want to deliver. Because also another big reason was when I was looking to sell one or two assets, I didn't get the multiplier that I wanted to because of my personal branding. The brand had a great brand and presence, but they want to know who was behind the site and who was the owner that had helped build that.
Yeah.
When they looked at me, they actually started to see certain videos with like Matt Diggity, and back then Matt Diggity used to talk about PBNs. So they connected me with PBNs and started to go, oh, maybe he's doing some shady stuff here to strengthen up his website.
Yeah.
So I needed to then make certain that people understand I'm more than just, whether people call it black hat or grey hat or white hat or money hat or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a businessman that leverages SEO. And I think that is the big thing that I wanted to make certain from a personal branding point of view.
Yeah.
The message I wanted to deliver. But yeah, I mean, with regards to AI and stuff like that now, like I see you like as being probably one of the biggest names alongside people like Neil Patel, the biggest name in the SEO community. And Neil gets a lot of grief and a lot of trolls and stuff like that. But like, I find it fascinating how great of a marketer that Neil is with regards to holding up the signs on, he gets a load of like really good looking girls holding up signs and runs ads to it for like, and they're saying like, who is Neil Patel? And what it does is it gets loads of people then searching like, who is Neil Patel? And then his knowledge panel shows up and he's getting branded search. And I'm just like, you absolute genius.
Dude, I'll tell you a funny story about Neil Patel. So we've obviously spoke a lot over the years about the importance of branded search and all that stuff. But also what we've spoken about is click-through rate manipulation and all that stuff. We know that this stuff works. And I'll never forget, Neil Patel had a free guide on his website. And so I went on his website to see what the fuck he was talking about. And it had like a 5-minute countdown video on the website. I'm like, fucking hell. So anyway, I fucking tried to scroll off and I went back on. It started at 5 minutes again. And I'm like, motherfucker. So I left it on there, opened up another window, checked my emails or whatever the fuck I'd done. But that bastard was making me sit in his fucking website for 5 minutes before I got to see the video. And I'm like, that is fucking genius. Absolute fucking genius.
Well
so,
done, yeah.
you know, a lot of people, you know, say things about Neil, and we spoke about it off air. You know, he's not this and he's not that, and he's fucking Neil Steel Patel and all that stuff. Like, we'll both know, of course, there's probably been an article that was stolen, that his VA pinched or whatever. You know, but that guy is a really, really clever guy. He is next level in terms of some of the stuff he does. Even now, you're just like, fuck. So I am a massive, massive fan of Neil, and he gets a lot of hate. But I think, you know, when you look at the stuff he's done, and this story I'm telling you about the video was like 7-8 years ago. So, you know, recent years people have all been talking about, oh, send traffic, do this, do that. But, you know, he's been doing that stuff way
it's very advanced. I mean, obviously now the new Google leak that came out was talking about nav seeker and nav boost, which is all to do with engagement, click-through rate, branded searches, dwell time. The fact that he's been doing that for 7 years, like where people used to talk and like give a lot of crap to like Rand Fishkin for him coming out saying that CTR works. And now everyone's like, oh, no, it doesn't. Google came out saying that it doesn't. And now within the Google leak, it's clearly that it is a massive part of it. And within Nav Boost, it is a massive part of it. And the more people started to test it, it is a massive part of SEO.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is great. But what about for personal branding? What would you say? I'll fire a few different questions to you. Short fire, quick questions. Is a book advised if you want to build a personal brand?
Absolutely. If you can be bothered writing it.
Yeah. So what do you recommend? Maybe getting a ghostwriter if you don't want to?
Yeah, I just don't have the attention span or patience to do it. So if I could get a ghostwriter, or previously I've spoke to someone who was going to sit on Zoom with me for like multiple sessions. So I would do like a 2-hour session, tell them, you know, what I wanted to tell, and they would go away and make it, you know, a book. So something like that, absolutely. I think that would suit me personally. But if you've got the ability to sit and write, then by all means do it. But I think doing that would be good.
So next one, podcast. Having your own podcast and interviewing guests, maybe on YouTube, putting on Spotify and all the others. Would you recommend someone, if they're confident in front of a camera, them having their own podcast and interviewing others?
Absolutely. I think I've done a lot of other people's podcasts, and after a certain amount of them, I'm just like, the questions are repetitive. I'm not really getting to like you said, when you're on stage, you want to control the narrative of what people's perception of you is. And if I'm just asked every time I go on a podcast about what's new in SEO in 2025 and stuff like that, that's not really demonstrating my skills, knowledge, or expertise. I think there's more to me than just that. And I want to talk about other things, such as investments, breaking things, scaling businesses, systems, process, whatever it may be. And I think when you host a podcast, you can pick the people and the narrative that are on that, and obviously shed yourself in a good light, and obviously bring on other people that are maybe more experienced or better in other areas. It's a bit like you with businesses. I would go out and say, I feel that the SEO audience are really bad at business, for example. So let's get Dan Pignon, who's motivational, aggressive, and he's got a certain style, and you can control the kind of narrative and the kind of mindset of certain people that are watching, and hopefully add value to them. So it's not always just about SEO as well. You can expand upon that. So definitely podcast would be.
So that's for you to have your own podcast to interview others. Mm-hmm. What about you jumping on other people's podcasts to leverage their audience for you to get growth? Would you recommend jumping on other people's podcasts as well to build a personal brand?
Absolutely. It's something I've done many times. I also done it with SEMrush webinars and stuff. What was the reason that I sat in SEMrush webinars for many years was to leverage the SEMrush brand to help myself get exposure. And I think, if you can go on Neil Patel's podcast, which I'm assuming you can't just waltz up and say, Neil, I'm coming on. But, if you could somehow make that happen, absolutely, leverage their following. They've got massive followings, and you want to put yourself on there. It's like getting that opportunity speaking in Brighton SEO or whatever. You're given a stage and a spotlight to demonstrate your knowledge and expertise. You've got one chance of taking it. If you can go on a big player's podcast and you can say the right things, then more people are going to be going, fuck, I need to speak to this guy, or whatever it's going to be. So again, amazing opportunities to build your brand. And I think with podcasts and everything else, global. You can go if I've travelled to Asia, I've travelled to America, I've travelled to India, I've been all over to try and build up my following and stuff like that. But doing podcasts with these guys, which has obviously been quite big in the last few years, is an amazing way to also help.
So here's a difficult question then for you, right? You can host your own podcast and interview others, which then means that it goes onto your YouTube channel and gets the dwell time, the visited kind of hours on your own channel being built up. Or you can jump on other people's podcasts. If you had to choose one because time was against you, what would you say would be the better one for people who's first starting out to build a personal brand?
I think the key word there is time is against you. I'd be leveraging other people's followings and going on their podcast. If I was working against time and you said, Craig, you've got 6 months to get your name out there, absolutely, I would be going down the route of other people's podcasts, because I think your own podcast's a long-term strategy and it takes years and years and years to build up. Yeah. I've had YouTube and all that stuff and done podcasts for many years. And sometimes you can bang your head against a brick wall doing that, every week for years and years and years, and you've only got 30 people watching it. It can be soul destroying. So I think, someone's already done the hard work. So if you can take advantage of that, that would be the first choice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think personally, if you have a choice, go on everyone else's podcast to start with, which then builds your own following. Once then you've got a following at that point, then afterwards, after you've absorbed doing everybody else's, then you can then start doing your own. And sometimes it might be difficult to jump on someone who's high level and you might not be able to get on their podcast, but you might be able to get them onto yours, if you get what I mean, where a lot of people, I always call it podcast sluts, they'll jump on any podcast to get the exposure, do you know what I mean? So once you've built your following at that point, you can have your own being built up. But what about personal branding mistakes? What would you say over the years? Is there any mistakes that you've done and what people need to look out for personal branding to make certain that they don't deliver the message or convey, like, I would presume something like, let's say they was trying to be white hat and they tried to get certain people on and they started talking about black hat techniques and they could lose following or something like that. But is there any specific mistakes that people can do with personal branding?
Absolutely. I mean, I like to think I've not done too badly with mine, but I think there are people out there who try to be something they're not, and they try to be a general, well-liked marketer. Now, we all know that there's certain elements to the marketing industry, and if I was to talk about a lot of white hat stuff and things like that, do I think I would have been as successful? No, I chose to go down the other side, more black hat route, and I just think not many people were talking about that stuff. And obviously, personally, I liked a lot of that stuff. I've always liked automation. I've always liked being able to understand if there's anything you can game, and we've done testing on images and all of the kind of stuff that we all do. And obviously, certain people will frown upon that, but I chose to put out that narrative, and I was well aware that it would kill half of the opportunities that I was ever likely to get from the other side of the industry. So that happens, but I think that could be a mistake you make. You need to decide what you are and who you want to be, and not try and be liked by everyone, because I think that's where you kill yourself. And I'm not saying you're black hat by any stretch of the imagination, but you're not Mr. Corporate, and you've kind of made yourself more aligned towards the kind of the.
See, for me, I hate the term black art, white art, grey art, blue art, whatever they want to call it. Like, I'm a businessman that wants return on investment. That's what I want. Now, whether someone wants to frown upon saying purchasing or acquiring backlinks is black hat or not, if you actually read the guidelines, anyone doing any sort of SEO to manipulate Google search to rank higher is black hat.
Yeah.
So the white hats, I could sit down to them blue in the face and show them 10 different things that the white hats are doing that's black hat. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's trying to gamify to try and get to the top of Google, to get more impressions, to get more clicks, to get more inquiries, to make more profit. And what's the least amount of money you can put in to make the most amount of profit to get you the highest return on investment?
Yeah.
That, whatever people want to call that, is whatever I try to do. So it isn't a one size fits all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I will annoy certain white hats for saying that they're black hat. I will annoy certain black hats to say you're just always trying to do shortcuts and hacks, but long term, you're not building a proper brand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't pigeonhole you into the black hat market. I think you love automation, but I think you do a lot. People don't understand how much money you spend on paid ads.
Yeah.
Like, you spend a fortune on paid ads, and you spend a fortune on building a personal brand. That is very white hat, if you get what I mean. So you leverage a lot of white hat techniques, but you're also trying to do a lot of automation and make things being able to be done quicker without having to leverage high wages to be able to do certain things that AI might be able to do or whatever.
Yeah.
So moving on to the last question about personal branding. If you now had to close down all of your platforms and you can only keep 2 channels, so you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, you've got TikTok, you've got YouTube. I won't throw your website in, you can still keep your website, but maybe Reddit and Quora and all the other channels. You can only have 2 channels, and you want to build a personal brand and you want to build your name in the digital marketing space. What 2 channels are you keeping?
Probably TikTok and YouTube.
TikTok and YouTube, okay.
And the reason for that is TikTok, although I'm more personally known in Glasgow on TikTok than as an SEO, because the stuff that I put on there, I think I've seen many businesses grow on TikTok, personal brands or people promoting their e-com stores or whatever, and statistically, TikTok was getting as much traffic as Google at one point. I don't know where that stands right now, but certainly in recent years it was massive, and YouTube is a goldmine, absolute goldmine. And Facebook, I would say that's just more for mates now. I don't really publish a lot of fun stuff on the educational stuff or whatever. Obviously, YouTube, I can have everything segmented into playlists, and it can be educational. I can have some funny shots and stuff on there, and I think that covers everything that I would want to cover from a business perspective. So, I think I could even shut my website down tomorrow, in all honesty, shut Twitter, shut Facebook down and work with those two platforms and still make money.
I think for me, like, it becomes a difficult question because I like holistically doing everything. And obviously with the great content that you produce on the videos, it takes 10 seconds to pin it on Pinterest and you can get quite a lot of exposure on Pinterest. You can share it on Twitter and you can get some more exposure, people coming through to your YouTube and stuff. So it's probably a bad question on my side where holistically you should be trying to do everything.
So here's I'm going to add something to that because it's not a bad question. See, the content that I put out on Facebook would not be the same content that I would put out on Twitter, for example.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with people who will like go and make shorts of something and just ram it out on everything, the same video on everything.
Yeah.
One, I think ramming that out is not a good idea. It's plagiarism, if you like. But secondly, people on my Facebook, do you really care what I'm saying about SEO on Facebook? You probably don't give a fuck. If I've got a picture of my kid up or I'm on holiday or I'm out with Kazra or whatever it's going to be, you'll probably, oh, lads, or whatever, So I see the stuff that I put on Facebook more, it's colleagues, friends, associates, and all that kind of stuff. And they don't want me to be peddling SEO stuff, although they're all in SEO. Unless I've got something really new and really good to say, they don't want to hear about my course coming out next week or whatever it may be. So what I put out there is very different to what I would put out on YouTube or various other platforms. So I feel that there's different audiences on different platforms who consume your content differently. And Twitter is again another one where I think you have to be educational but short, sharp and promotional as well. I think you can get good traction on there. But again, going on to Instagram, does the same type of content work on Instagram? Nah, it's just a lot more visual on Instagram, and Instagram's probably the least one where I get real traction.
Well, do you know, so what's interesting on ours, we ran a load of different tests alongside each other. If I had to choose two, it would be YouTube and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I get a lot of connections and I get a lot of traction on LinkedIn. I get a lot of inquiries through LinkedIn. I get more exposure on my Twitter than I do on my LinkedIn, but I get more inquiries from my LinkedIn than I do my Twitter. My Twitter would be my first to go. Facebook, the only thing why Facebook's not bad is because of the groups. There's certain times there's 50,000 people in a Facebook group. And my own personal profile is personal, but in the groups, in the SEO groups, there's a lot of people. There's 60, 70, 80,000 in some groups. The proper SEO group's got 50,000, so you can leverage those groups on that front. Instagram on ads is great. So you've got the stories, you've got the posts, and then you've got a broadcast group when you grow it big enough. And that can work really well. So for certain brands, I do like Instagram for that reason. But for me, for my personal branding, if I had to keep two, it would be YouTube and LinkedIn. But anyway, it's been a great chat on personal branding. I've loved it. Like, I've always looked up to you as being one of the leaders in the SEO industry that's got a personal brand. Away from the personal branding, are you now leveraging that? Very last question on personal. Are you leveraging your personal brand to get investment opportunities do you find it's become easier to employ staff? People now start to understand who you are and your persona and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think, the biggest thing for us is the opportunities coming to us is important. And I think that happens when you've got a personal brand. I'm under no illusion. Why would someone want to work with me? They want to tap into the following and exposure that I can bring. So absolutely, people come to me and they'll be like, do you want this, or do you want to invest in that, or do you want equity in this, or can we do something that's mutually beneficial? So those opportunities come to me, and then obviously can open up that conversation. I think that is obviously where I want to go in life, and have those opportunities come to me, but I also want to be part of having something to bring to the table. And if that's the personal brand and the following and the exposure and the mailing list and everything else, absolutely. I think that's where I fit into the industry.
So where can people get hold of yourself? Where can people catch you?
Craig Campbell SEO.com. You can just hit me up in the contact form there, or on social media. I'm on them all. Although I said I could do away with them all. You can pretty much get me on all of them: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. What else am I on? TikTok. Aye.
All of them.
All of them, yeah.
Well, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope you like the video about personal branding.